Closed captioning for the Casey Malone Show is sponsored by Hunter Stevens Land Title Agency. Integrity, service, and commitment you can trust.
Oh yeah, Casey Malone is serving up local. It's time for the stories of our region, the tastes, the sights, the sounds, and the people in and around the valley. Get ready for some local flavor on the Casey Malone Show.
Spring is in the air, so let's visit the beautiful and historic Courthouse Inn and Restaurant. It's Rennie's Jewel Box in Lisbon. I also prepare my lovely asparagus soup. Built in 1803 as the Pickings Hotel, the Courthouse Inn and Restaurant is the oldest brick building in Ohio. Famous guests include Abraham Lincoln, Grover Cleveland, and Edward Stanton. The original exterior has been restored, but the interior is thoroughly modern, with copper, crystal, artwork, even jade. The inn has guest rooms with modern amenities. Vegetarian offerings are served, along with full bar and fabulous desserts. After 11 years, Rennie's vision is realized. Well, I love that you've returned home and that you're investing in your home. But tell me about your journey to New York City and jewelry design and how that all came to be.
Well, I went to New York on my 30th birthday, and I saved money in my 20s and decided I was going to go to New York to become an artist. Because here, people never appreciated me, and they always thought the way I thought, which I see things differently than most people, and I think differently, and I didn't fit. And I either had to go to New York and fit, or I had no idea what I was going to do.
What was your medium as an artist?
I painted, I sculpted. I never knew I made jewelry. I didn't do that in the beginning. I painted, sculpted, built furniture, mostly sculptures and paintings.
And you're all self-taught?
Yes, absolutely.
And then success came early, or?
Well, success came very early. I actually was robbed in my apartment in New York City, and I needed to make money real fast. And I had, under my bed, I had a suitcase full of antique jewelry. And I looked at my jewelry, because I collected it all my life, and I looked at it and I said, well, I could either sell this jewelry as is and not get very much money, or I could make my own jewelry out of these parts and make art, and then I could determine the price myself. It wouldn't be like, this is an antique piece of jewelry and you can only get X amount of dollars.
So many grams, yeah.
You know, so now I was able to make art, and then I could determine whatever price I wanted to sell it at. And I set up at the flea market at Columbus Avenue, and I was there for 3 months, and people would pick up my pieces, and this is in 82, 83. The least
and they
expensive
were precious metals, and these were real stones.
Yes, and the least expensive thing I ever made was $300, and this is when jewelry at the flea market was like $5, $10. People would pick up something and they go, oh, this is really beautiful, how much is it? I'd say $650. And let's say, for an example, and they'd look at me like I was crazy, and I'd always say, believe it and leave, because I knew they weren't my customer, you know? So on my 3rd month, a man who was actually America's first billionaire was driving by on a Sunday morning with his driver, and I had a jeweled curtain that I made around my booth. And I did this curtain so that it would catch the light, and It was really beautiful. And when he was driving down Columbus Avenue, he saw the light through the curtain, and he stopped the car and came over, and he asked me who I was, and I told him, and he said, do you have a card, because I'm going to call you. And 2 weeks later he called me and changed my life.
Well, can I ask who was America's first billionaire? Because I don't know that. Do I have to Google that?
No, Charles Allen from Allen & Company Private Banking. I worked for so he hired me to make a curtain for his granddaughter, a jeweled curtain for his granddaughter, and she had a big picture window over 5th Avenue, and I did some drawings for him, and I let him pick what design he wanted for the jeweled curtain. And he said, how long do you think it'll take? And I said, it's going to take at least a year. And so that was the beginning of my relationship. And then I built all the chandeliers for them, and I bought art, and I traveled and bought antique jewelry. And
did you do it all from reclaimed pieces, or then did you just go out and do it with things that appealed to you?
All reclaimed pieces. Yes, all reclaimed pieces.
So I think probably what is your signature piece would be considered the shake.
Yeah, the diamond shake. Oh, I make it in colored diamonds, white diamonds, sapphires, rubies, emeralds. I make it in anything and any jewels. And I started making it because I had all these stones that I popped out of jewelry, and then I had a paper. I had all these little stones and I didn't know what to do with them. So I remember I was sitting at my dining room table and I took out a sheet of white paper and I poured the stones out on the paper, and I thought, what am I going to do? And then I said, I'm going to have to make a vessel to contain these stones. So that was the beginning of the shake, was making a vessel to contain all the small stones that I couldn't figure out what to do with.
We'll continue with more from the Courthouse Inn and Restaurant after this. I've got your next t-shirt idea for the magic trick. Eat, drink, celebrate, repeat.
Casey,
like
that is our slogan.
Okay, well,
but you know what? I think we need to put that on a t-shirt. But yes, when it comes to our food, we truly have the passion for bringing great quality food. We make from scratch. We support local farmers with our farm-to-table menu, and that's what we do. And then when it comes to our beverages, our drinks, we have 41 craft beers on tap. We really have the passion for the craft beer, and we are the only place this side of the state that does wine on tap. You cannot get a better quality. And then celebrate here at Magic Tree. It's all about creating a memory for people.
And you see all the different celebrations, all the things that people just love to party here. And I'll tell you, eat, drink, celebrate, repeat.
Cheers.
Part of growing up in Youngstown is growing up with Rowley Brothers Markets. Even friends who have moved out of town come to shop and say hi when they're home for a visit.
And my family has always shopped at Rowley's, and today they are still my favorite grocery store. My recipes depend on the best ingredients, and that's why I get them at Rowley's, where you'll always find the freshest food at the best prices.
Rowley Brothers is a proud sponsor of the Casey Malone Show. The quality that customers have come to expect is true local flavor.
$5 Burger Mondays at Sadie's Place, inside the Best Western, Route 46, Austintown.
I'm Mayor John McNally. When elected, I promised to reduce crime, to clean up our neighborhoods, and attract businesses to bring jobs to Youngstown. I have kept my promise. Crime has been reduced. 700 illegal guns have been removed from our streets. Blighted structures have been torn down and neglected properties brought into compliance. I have kept my promise and will continue to work hard for Youngstown. I'm asking for your vote. I've earned it.
Well, Rennie Lewis is the proprietor here at the Courthouse Inn, and you purchased this back in 2005.
Yes, I did.
What a renovation this has been.
Well, it was, I bought this building because it lay fallow, and it was such a historic building. It was on the National Registry of Historic Places. It's the oldest brick building in the state. It has so much history with it, and it would have been torn down. So I thought, let me buy the building. Lisbon is the oldest town in Ohio, and it's a mess. So let me try and instill in people the fact that they should reclaim these buildings, and I'll just restore the outside and leave it a sculpture and see if it gives people the incentive to restore their
Gentrify
buildings.
this whole city.
Right.
And then the juxtaposition when you enter the doors, because this is not at all in the period. I mean, this is all your vision.
Yes, every bit of it is my vision, because I'm a jewelry designer and I wanted to make a building like a piece of jewelry, because for 35 years I have this constraint of being creative and making one-of-a-kind pieces that fit in the palm of your hand.
The doors that lead you in, these are outstanding, and these are not original.
No,
You found these in your travels.
we did. We were in Argentina. We were in Buenos Aires, and they were raising this hacienda, and I needed double French door. I needed double doors that matched for the front of my building. And in America, we don't really build houses with double doors.
Yeah.
So when we were in Argentina, all the houses are double French doors. So I saw these doors in this building that they were going to demolish. I found the contractor. I negotiated a deal. I bought the doors. Then I had to find a shipper. I had to find.
And you had you knew exactly where these were going to go.
I knew exactly where they were going to go.
Well, you know, a few years ago, I featured a mutual friend of ours, Mark Henry, from All Secure.
Right.
And that was when I first heard about this project, because I know Mark has done the wrought iron and the ornamental iron here. And he said, oh, you ought to see what's going on down in Lisbon. And he was doing a lot of the restoration of the railings here.
Right.
And do you work with a lot of local artisans like him?
We do, yeah. And Mark's a very talented person as well, yeah. And we've acquired a lot of talented subcontractors over the years that are accustomed to the way we do things and know the way that we would like things done. And so,
What have you learned on this project? Because this had to be a lot of new things that you have not come against before.
you know, the challenges from, there were no big obstacles to me. I just figured it out. You know, it was just some things were trial and error, and it was a fun process for me.
How do you describe the courthouse Inn?
It's a very eclectic building. It's got the old with the new, and that's what Rennie brings to it. She brings her vision of the jewelry industry, kind of the bling into the building, and in her art and things that she's acquired over the years.
So Rennie, this was basically built because of need. You needed a place to sleep. You needed a place to eat. And as a vegetarian, of course, you took advantage of all the local food that is grown here in, Northeast Ohio.
Yes.
So what do you think?
Well, I'm pretty happy about spring coming because we're going to have fabulous assortment of vegetables and foods that we can really augment every day. We can change the menu up because there's so much fresh
exactly.
food.
And it does change. And I know you root vegetables in the winter, and but I love that you get your bread from the bread chef.
Absolutely.
And you really do bring in the local ingredients, and of course what you can't, you try to go organic, you try to go natural, and the menu here changes every single day.
Yes, it
because
does.
you don't know
What's in season, what we're going to find at the market, what's in season, what the chef feels like preparing. I mean, the chef decides he's going to make 2 different specials every day.
I really love that you are not skimping on the desserts.
Oh, no. We have fabulous desserts. We have a baker. She comes at 9 o'clock at night, and she bakes all night long because our kitchen's not that large.
And you never know what they're going to have in the dessert case. And between the chocolate, the banana cream pie, today while I'm here, I'm definitely having that. And you know what? I think everyone loves a little treat. And that is always a beautiful addition to any lunch, breakfast, or dinner.
Who makes homemade cakes anymore? Who makes homemade pies?
Nobody.
You make the crust, you have to make the fillings.
What a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, thank you, Casey.
Thank you so much
Thank you.
for your hospitality. Cheers.
Cheers.
This place, I love it.
Thank
and
you.
I recommend it highly. You guys gotta come out. The Casey Malone Show will be right back with more local flavor.
Step up to Exmark, the mowers that have been beautifying landscapes for more than 3 decades, featuring high-performance zero-turn riders like the new Exmark Radius, starting at just $49.99. With any Exmark, you'll get a great-looking cut in less time, every time. That's why landscape pros purchase Exmark 2-to-1 over the next best-selling brand. So what are you waiting for? Exmark, ready to work for you.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Bernard. You know, every personal injury case has its own unique circumstances. The best advice I can give to anybody who suffered an injury is please call a lawyer. Don't try to settle the case on your own. When you contact our office, you will talk to a lawyer. And we're not going to charge you for just walking in our door or giving us a call. In fact, we won't get a fee unless your case is successful. Personal attention is what our clients deserve. It's our #1 priority.
Hi everybody, I'm Danny, owner and operator of Cthulhu Prime Meats, a 3rd-generation butcher shop that not only specializes in quality, but also in customer service and doing things in a new technological way. Chris here is our customer service manager. Chris, what do you think that we do differently than any other grocery store?
I think we personally not only offer great product, but we can offer a great customer service experience as well. We try and treat all our customers like they were family and friends, ask how their family's doing just so they can keep in touch, and give them that customer experience that they deserve.
And the nice part is we not only do that inside the store, but also on CthulhuPrimeMeats.com, where you can buy a lot of our products that we carry here, whether it be grass-fed beef, organic chicken, some of our specialty burgers and bacon. Those are wonderful, and we're going to provide that same customer experience online as we do in store.
Come see us in store or online. Make your next meal one to remember.
Four for $5 till 6. Happy hour at Sadie's Place inside the Best Western, Route 46, Austintown.
My mom was always in my corner.
Always pushing me to do better.
I couldn't have asked for a better mother.
So when she needed assisted living,
I did my research.
Doctors, nurses,
and others with family and assisted living,
they all said,
trust the name you know.
Briarfield.
For assisted living with top healthcare experts, a caring staff, and a comfortable home-like setting.
Trust the name you know.
Briarfield.
Trust the name you know. Briarfield. Proudly serving the Valley for over 20 years.
My dad, Stephen J. Kamara, opened a jewelry store in 1948. He sold high-quality jewelry at a fair price. We are keeping the family tradition alive. I'm Bob Kamara. Along with my children, Rob and Brianna, Kamara's has the largest selection of diamonds and engagement rings in our area. You can trust Kamara Jewelers to offer the best value and personal service. Kamara Jewelers, locally owned by the 3rd-generation Kamara family and working on the 4th. Get real, get Kamara.
Though the calendar may say spring, It sure is hard to tell by the weather outside, but I know it's spring when I go into the grocery store and I see an abundance of fresh asparagus. At this time of year, beautiful thin asparagus is plentiful. And asparagus is so good for you. It's loaded with antioxidants. It has anti-aging properties, and the French think it is an aphrodisiac. So let's take advantage of spring's harvest with asparagus, and I'm going to prepare for you my fresh asparagus soup. For this recipe, you'll need 2 to 3 pounds of fresh asparagus, 8 cups of chicken stock, 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter, 1 cup of minced shallots, 1 cup of green onion, white part only chopped, 2 tablespoons of minced garlic, 1/4 teaspoon of ground white pepper, 1/2 cup heavy whipping cream, and 1/4 cup of freshly grated Parmesan cheese for garnish. We'll begin by trimming the very top of the asparagus about 1 inch to 1.5 inches in. We'll cut these off and reserve these for later use. Next, we'll remove the very bottom, the woody part of the asparagus spears, and put those aside for another use. And next, we'll take the middle part of the stalk and cut those into 1-inch pieces. If you have homemade chicken stock, bring 8 cups to a boil. I'm going to use boxed from Giarusa, and 2 cartons equals 8 cups. I've brought it to a boil, and now I'm going to add the very end of the asparagus, the tough woody pieces, and I'll simmer these for 20 minutes to get the flavor out of them, and then I'll remove them and discard them after I get all that asparagus flavor. While we're simmering the woody stalks of the asparagus spears, I've melted down the 4 tablespoons of butter. Now it's nice and foamy. And I'm going to soften up the shallots and the green onion. We'll cook these for about 3 or 4 minutes. Wow, the shallots and the green onion smell amazing. Now's a good time to add the garlic. We'll cook about 1 minute further, and then we'll add the middle of the asparagus stalks. Now we'll add the chopped asparagus stalks. We'll mix these together. And now's a good time to add a little bit of salt and pepper, not a lot. You can always add more at the end. About 1/2 teaspoon of each. We'll stir these and combine them and soften them just a bit before we're going to add them to the broth, about 2 or 3 minutes. The shallots, the green onion, the garlic, and the asparagus has softened nicely. What we're going to do now is just remove this from the heat, and we'll be adding this to the broth in just a little bit. It's been about 20 minutes where this woody, stalky part of the asparagus has been infusing its flavors into the broth. So now we'll just remove these and discard them. They've added a nice flavor to the chicken stock, and we are not going to need these any longer. The woody, tough part of the asparagus spear has been discarded. Now the beautiful decorative tips will be added to this broth. We'll blanch it for about 1 minute, and then we'll pull them and put them in an ice bath, and we'll use this later for the garnish. The tips are a beautiful bright green. We'll remove them from the broth, and we'll put them in this ice bath to stop the cooking. We've removed the asparagus tips. Now we've brought this up to a slow boil, and now back into the broth we'll add our chopped asparagus spears with the onion and the garlic and the shallots, and we'll cook this for 15-20 more minutes until everything's softened up nicely. And while this is all cooking together, it's a good time to add our 1/4 teaspoon of white pepper. Well, this is all softened up nicely and it smells so good. The subtle flavors of asparagus. I'm going to use my favorite appliance, the hand immersion blender, but you can also use your regular standing blender and you'll just have to do this in batches. And we'll just put this down and mix this together thoroughly until we break up all the asparagus spears. I drained off the asparagus tips and I'm going to add a few of them to the smooth asparagus soup. And now that it's off the heat, it's a good time to add the ½ cup of heavy whipping cream. And it's still quite hot, but if you'd like it a bit warmer, you can add it back to the stove. And I don't mind if there's a little bit of the chunky asparagus in there, so I'll probably add about half back into it and save the rest for garnish. Well, it looks and it smells amazing. I'm anxious to see how it tastes. It is official. Spring has arrived. This asparagus soup is light, packed with flavor, and the grated Parmesan is a really nice topping. I suggest a light, crisp wine, something maybe French, the Belarus. It's very light, Chardonnay-like, and very, very reasonable. It pairs perfectly with my asparagus soup. So refreshing. Just go to my website, CaseyMaloneShow.com, for the complete recipe. You are going to love my light and refreshing asparagus soup. The Casey Malone Show is sponsored in part by Denise and John York and the DeBartolo Corporation.